My name is Hampus, and I go by the nickname Sukma, and I currently play controller for KOVA Esports.
Hi, my name is Jesmund. I'm a captain for KOVA Esports.
I think it was decent. I think we could have qualified to playoffs if we had a little bit more luck on our side. But obviously it comes down to our own performance. It was a bit disappointing, but made us even more hungry for the second split.
I think it was kind of expected. I mean, we could have won like a couple more of the big games, but I think we won all the teams that we expected to win. And it's kind of unfortunate that we didn't make the playoffs. I think we had a lot more to show, but coming into the split 2, it's going to be a whole different KOVA, I think.
We have been practicing more, and the meta change kind of favored us, in my opinion. So I think that as well has made us a better team.
I think we are getting along together like even better right now, and I think the trust is building like it's going to be even better than the last time. I think that's going to be our strength coming to the split 2, and we are really like familiar with what everyone's doing right now, and I think like all the stars can align right now.
I think everyone wants to win right now, so I think the goals are pretty high, but we are very optimistic.
I think we're gonna make it to the playoffs this time. Like we're pretty confident on that, and obviously we trying to win the whole thing.
I honestly wouldn't say so, but if I had to pick one, I also think Alle is gonna pop off this season.
I would say Alle is gonna be that guy. But last his split hits, he had some bad like games and like unfortunate like split for himself. But for coming into the next split, I think he's gonna destroy everyone now.
We had such an intensive game between human tripwires and Hukars that Pavlos, he was taken ill from the sheer awesomeness. Thankfully, though, we have been able to bring a standard of Moxie, helping us go through this next matchup, where we're going to be seeing if the Killers of KOVA can continue their marauding rampage through the lower ends of Polaris now to sneak their way into playoffs. This is their final game of the season and the final game of our group stage as KOVA take on Alliance. Of course, I'm Castle Crabber 3. This time, though, I'm joined by the wonderful Moxie. How do you feel about this one?
I mean, I'm really looking forward to this one. This is the reason why I came. I could not pass up the opportunity to see KOVA potentially make it into playoffs, because the two conditions that this team had to be able to make it into that top 4 spot was correct. Human Tripwires lost their match. Now KOVA just have to win against Alliance, a team that is currently entirely winless in this season. So for KOVA, who unfortunately in Split 1 were 1 win away from making it into playoffs, these guys have a real shot at being able to bag a spot.
Yeah, absolutely right. And on the topic of the winless team, this could be where it changes. Let's take a look at Alliance, the all-Danish team who are here to potentially ruin the days of their Finnish and Swedish counterparts.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any team that could really throw a curveball into these final matches, I definitely think Alliance is one of them. You think back to Split 1, the first match that they ever had against 10-Star, they came out with this composition that no one, including their opponent, was prepared for. They were the ones who ran Neon on Haven. So innovative compositions, I'm going to be keeping an eye out to see whether or not we are going to be getting a little bit of a different Alliance coming out today.
With Alliance, what I think is quite interesting as well is they have quite a broad map pool. They're happy to play pretty much anything apart from Fracture, so it makes anti-strategy them fairly difficult. And for me, this is really going to be something to watch out for KOVA, who have already kind of shown that they don't want to play Icebox. They don't want to touch it with a 10-foot barge pole, but they've also been showing that they've been really hiding from Ascent, which means that this veto for Alliance is actually going to be fairly strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always really hard when you have a team who only really avoids one map and you have the chance to ban 2. So for Alliance, if it does go to, say, a free map series, it's definitely going to be more in favor from them, given the way that that veto is going to work out. Whichever way I think that KOVA tries to pick, they are going to be running into, if it does go to those free maps, one of their less favorable map picks.
On the topic of whether or not it'll go to 3 maps, though, let's take a look at Alliance's opponents of KOVA. Now, you mentioned 3 maps, Moxie, and you know what? I appreciate the enthusiasm, but unfortunately, I think that this may be a 2-map affair. KOVA, they have just got better and better as the season has gone on.
Yeah, these guys have really impressed, being able to be very flexible, not just with their map pool, aside from Icebox and Ascent, but also their agent compositions. Right, we've seen them run so many different looks on all of these different maps. Sometimes they still run the Astra, they've run the Neon, they've run a little bit of the Viper. It's really been nice to see, because it means that even if they do end up on some of these maps, you can't just counter-strat them by thinking, okay, they're on Ascent, they're going to be running this comp. Every single time they show us something new, and it makes it really hard for their opponents to just look at VODs and counter whatever they come out with.
Yeah, and when you have such a broad agent pool as well, even if you're able to identify what maps they're playing, you won't be able to identify what compositions they're running, because the likelihood is KOVA haven't shown it yet. We really look back at their previous iterations of, I think the main one I want to highlight is Bind, how they've yet to play the same composition twice. And while it has only been over the course of a couple of games, as this evolves, and particularly as we go to playoffs, we're probably going to see even more changes and even more varying compositions and all of their maps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the fact that they do have very versatile compositions other than Icebox and Ascent, which are 2 maps which they can try and take out as fast as possible, it does become a little bit harder to counterplay them, because you are coming into a meta where sometimes we see double initiator, sometimes if you go to somewhere like Split, you get to see triple pseudo duelist with something like a Raze, an Arena, and a Chamber taking that 3rd spot. There's a lot of faces of KOVA, and I'm pretty sure that we're yet to see some of them as well.
On the topic of teammates and being able to play off of them, though, let's take a moment to thank our wonderful partners over at Teams, who, if you want to find some Valorant teammates, well, this is the place to do it. If you're like me and pitifully lonely, then Teams.gg/Valorant is the place to go if you want players to, to play with. Fortunately, no other cast will play with me because I'm too bad. Moxie, maybe you will, hey? Maybe one day.
Maybe it depends which agent's your main.
I'm a Sage main.
Oh, okay, we can then. Yeah, I'm a Killjoy.
Oh, awesome. We got ourselves a combo for Alliance and KOVA. Now, for me, this is really going to come down to the Duelist 1v1. But is there any player here that you're really looking forward to seeing, and anyone you want to see potentially pop off here?
So I'm actually really looking at what controllers both of these teams are going to be coming out with, because KOVA still like to run the Astra, but Alliance also have Cider, who in my opinion was one of the better Astras coming in off of Split 1. I was really disappointed that we don't really get to see him play that Astra anymore, given the way that that team has now actually started with their composition. They're still running a couple of subs coming on through, which means that agent overlap is a very big thing, and unfortunately Cider has removed themselves from that controller role. So maybe we get to see him back on the Astra. I've got my fingers crossed.
We could hope, right? On the topic of hoping, we've got our veto coming up in just a moment. Now, for me, I'm expecting to see the likes of Haven and Split in here. I really want to see a split before it's removed, right? So, I don't mind, so long as there's a split. And there isn't a split!
Well, here's something that's very interesting. KOVA have actually not instantly banned out Icebox. They've left it on the table. Instead, they removed Ascent instantly, which no surprises there. But Split was their second one, so Kremmer, you're not gonna get your wish. Instead, we're going to be seeing KOVA on one of their less comfortable maps, Icebox, and it's gonna be their very first map of the day. If this goes wrong for Alliance, KOVA are gonna be so strong with the next two maps.
Right, let's take a moment to look at the agent picks for Icebox, though, because Icebox, as we saw earlier in our Human Tripwires game, we did see a Killjoy come out, and for me, Moxie, I'm not liking Killjoy's presence on Icebox at the moment. It just doesn't have enough utility, and yes, the lockdown's good, but the flash drives from the KO are just better. They help your retakes, they help your aggression. I really don't want to be seeing a Killjoy here.
Yeah, I will not lie. There is no agent bias when I look at compositions for Icebox. Yeah. I don't like running Killjoy on Icebox. I don't like seeing any team running it, because now that we have that KO coming on through, it's just a lot more potent in terms of both the defense and the offense. The fact that you can use null command, very similar to lockdown, right, to guarantee a space, but it's also a lot harder for people to try and run away from. You can't just instantly destroy it unless you're able to actually shoot the KO, but still pulsing out when he's down. So all of that space denial is still going to be there to play, and especially, with those jet nerfs coming through, the fact that you do now have those intricacies to the dash and more people going for the chamber setup, you do want to have that KO to try and break potential crossfires and let the rest of your team have safe passage to be able to move on to site, because the jet's no longer going to be there with the Cloud just to do that.
When we take a look at the compositions, though, I like the fact of seeing a Reyna appear on both teams here. I used to think Reyna is a bit of an endangered species, but apparently not. They're coming out of the woodwork now.
I love the Reyna personally. You get to be so aggressive, you get to use that layer as well. The fact that you can help your jet or push separate spaces, it's a lot of map control. What I'm very interested in is that we have Alliance running the chamber, and KOVA don't actually have a counter chamber. So there is going to be a lot more pressure on both Ale and Shed to be able to keep themselves alive for that first contact, because Nile obviously has the rendezvous. You can still anchor towards that B site, you can still remove yourself from when you get pressured. That's not going to be available for Shed unless you have that dash, and it's even harder for Ale, because for the Reyna, for that dismiss, you have to have a kill to count first.
What I think is quite interesting from Alliance is usually when you see a Reyna, it's partnered with another duelist. In this case, it's solo Reyna. Yes, you do have the chamber, which is kind of a duelist at this. It's quite low. Composition, I am leaning in favor of KOVA here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, KOVA now are going to be starting off on attack with those pistols. The fact that they do have those double duelists, they can get very aggressive and push over towards an out of nest and towards that A site. And it is just going to be a Sage wall stopping them. And when that breaks, we're going to have a lot of contact.
There's just there with the opening. Sawson just trying to get the hell out of dodge. Malfoy is able to respond down to the 4-on-4. However, the spike needs to go down faster. Very brave exodus from the Sage there. However, instantly traded by Ale, and just like that, accompanied by Vicious KOVA, they put themselves onto the board with a pistol round, keeping 3 players left alive there. And I won't lie, my heart does go out to Sutler for showing some serious bravery to dive across your enemy's line of sight to confirm that spike plant. And it's a lot of faith to have in Ale as well to defend you with it as well.
I mean, my heart goes out to Nile too. So often we see that chamber being the absolute savior on those pistols with the headhunter, but is only able to find one before they go down. And now Alliance, with that verticality pressure on Icebox, are going to be investing, forcing up onto that Marshall to try and soften up KOVA, but KOVA rocking 4 Bulldogs and 1 Spectre. Not normally the buy that you get to see, but it's going to absolutely tear Alliance's health if they show up for a single second.
Oh shit, behave yourself. Shuts down the second player as well. And now he's just waiting to see if there's any further pushes. It's just a matter of lining up, holding these angles and waiting for Alliance to oblige you with these peaks. Sage saunters their way over to A, unfortunately. For KOVA, their gaze is set to B. That spike will go down, and for a retake with no shields at all and only a Marshall. Alliance, the odds are certainly stacked against them. If there was, however, a time to write history and to put your name into the songs, then hey, for Kodze, this could be a time to do it.
And it's going to be very hard, though. That toxin screen for the defensive Viper is situated over onto that A site. And so KOVA are going to have all of the control in how this matchup happens. There it is. Toxin screen drops. Yasmin with the Bulldog is able to just tear Soren's health apart. Now it is just Courtesy looking for a pick under tube, potentially getting to see some of those towers players up in tower, not going to be able to find a Marshall shot. And it is going to be KOVA taking the expected win with a buy like that. And for Alliance, the fact that they weren't able to down a single player, despite buying into that Marshall to try and juicing up all of those health bars, that's going to be a costly one.
You're absolutely right, and being able to go without sustaining any casualties is also going to help the confidence of KOVA quite a bit as well, particularly that of Shed, who just did something unspeakable with that opening kill. Also, to highlight, 4 Bulldogs, as you mentioned, is a very, very bold second round buy, but now it pays off because your bonus actually bears quite a bit of teeth.
Well, it does mean that they can just try and wallbang through Nest in case there is a player up close and personal. A lot of information for KOVA on whether Alliance are going to be close. They're not even pushing mid either, they're just content to try and draw out all of these little bits of utility so that Alliance eventually are going to run out of delay. Liz going to be coming out, but none of the players still pushing up, just making sure all of these corners are clear, punishing the fact that Alliance aren't really running a flash agent. So if they decide to hit the gas, there isn't a lot that Alliance can do when those resources run out.
Nail, hoping for an opening here. Summer, another ambitious wall, this time punish. Malfoy on the trade. Shed keeps it relatively even for the time being. Still a player down, make that 2 players. The Viper chimes back. Vicious caught out as well. The Viper, very strong round there from Kodze. That leaves it all onto Jessamine. 1 versus 4. Caught out again, and for Alliance, a very clean conversion of their buy rounds. My biggest worry going into this, Moxie, was that Alliance would sort of roll over and take the beating. But now we're seeing a response. Now we're seeing them fight back. All of a sudden, KOVA might be in a bit of danger here. We are going to be seeing Vandals come out. The full buy is going to be there to respond. This is accompanied by the fact that Ale still has that Empress readily available.
Yeah, KOVA know they have to destroy Alliance's economy before this defense gets comfortable enough to start anchoring sites with Neela using that chamber and an operator, because that's when it gets extremely hard for attackers to be able to push onto these sites very quickly and get that spike down, as we see the teams want to do on this particular map. Alliance, once again, though, being very, very pushy to use things like these Sage Walls to try and cover up that ground. It does get a little bit of information, but KOVA, seeing that the Sage has already used that wall, can start to push over onto the A-site. Shed prepping up that dash is going to have to go through the toxin screen, which is going to leave them decayed. However, Kadozi's not able to translate it into a kill.
Empress is being summoned as well. Instant swing from Ali, just trying to force out an aim duel here, but no one's doing it. No one's behaving themselves and taking a duel at face value. Everyone's swinging, everyone's giving him side glances. It means this Empress already halfway gone, hasn't even been able to draw a single speck of blood. Aggression, it actually comes from the Sage there, as Nilla is able to follow it up, but Swordsman follows through. There's the Empress, double kill for Ale now, and all of a sudden in for the 2 versus 2. The lack of presence from defender spawn means that a flanker has to be coming. surely, right, Snyder, is this expected by either of these KOVA attackers? Without control of the spike either, this could really draw and tunnel vision them in this approach. Saya able to get behind them, ready to commence his flank, sees the barrel of Ali, shuts down the Empress down to the 1 versus 1 for your Viper. The plant is cancelled, swings up to the Leer, instantly able to adjust for the headshot. Suddenly, Jessamine finds himself in this, taps again, peeks out to Malfoy, sees the recon dart, can't quite take the engagement. There he does, as the Viper wall raises of the KOVA. That'll be a third. Jessamine putting down Malfoy and bringing KOVA that momentum.
Oh, well, it's the momentum that they needed, because they just lost 4 rifles. And that is dicey. The fact that they know that there's a lack of arena, they have to know that the flank is there, but Ale goes for that really punishing zipline. And so you're not able to get those shots off onto Cider very fast. Yasmin, thankfully, able to separate the fights into the 1 versus 1s and is able to take Malfoy out, because if Malfoy had something like a Hunter's Fury with 13 seconds left to get that plant down, KOVA would have lost. However, KOVA now have a Hunter's Fury of their own, and Vicious is actually immediately going to pop it. Going to be able to pick up Nile. Ali's been able to use that one to get up close and personal to take out Cider. And this is the aggression that we really wanted to see from KOVA coming on through, trying to get onto these sites fast, making sure that Alliance can't take advantage of the vertical angles that is there for the defense, as the spike has been planted. And now that Viper delay can start to cycle through.
So the thing that's quite interesting is KOVA chose to start on the attack on Alliance's map pick, which shows they probably had something planned. And what I quite like is realizing that for KOVA as well, they're quite a momentum-based team. These early fast pushes are really helping them out here. And in terms of ult management, yes, you're going up against the Viper's Pit now. This is where you can slow it down. But remember, you're only against Sheriffs. Even when you slow it down, you're still dictating the pace. You're still controlling the narrative here.
Now, Alliance should be able to use the Viper's Pit in this round if they want to just block up one of these sites immediately, given the fact that Vicious did just use the Hunter's Fury. They're not really running anything else that can push that Viper out of the pit early. But again, for Alliance, they're just being very cautious, knowing the buy that they're on, trying to find any sort of early contact that they can. You have to expect Shed. You haven't had control of Tube, but still able to find Cider, who does not check the angle in time. And now Ali sees the free space and starts to move on in. Nile and Malfoy are the only 2 left. Malfoy still running onto that Marshall, but Spike's been down, and everyone from KOVA is more than content to hide away. A little bit of an elbow shown from the Sage, but it's just baiting into Shed's shots.
Miller I don't think he even got to fire a single bullet out of that Sword of Force. Is instantly put down at the KOVA. This is a dominant start. 5-1 in the blink of an eye, 7 rounds in. For Alliance, I'd love to see the timeout start being used now.
Oh, well, there you go.
Can't see that.
Almost instantly. The problem is that I feel like they're going to try and use the Viper's Pit, but they've waited a little bit too long, because KOVA now have Yasmin's Viper's Pit to answer it back. And their economy is far more comfortable than Alliance's. And so it's going to be really important for Alliance on the round that they do use that Viper's Pit to be able to still have rifles to go for the spray through. And they will have this round, but if they lose this round, then they're going to be back into that eco, back onto those pistols, and trying to line up shots through the Viper's Pit. That can sometimes be a lot harder when KOVA can just spray through Kadezi's ultimate and still pick up value.
I think when you have so many ults available, a big trap that teams fall into is they just dump them. They use everything in one round, and they end up having to sort of just rely on their aim for the good 3 or 4 rounds afterwards, while everything else starts coming back online. And KOVA, they've done a good job at avoiding this purely by using an ult one round, an ult next round. You've still got your Blaze, you've still got your Viper's Pits. For Alliance, it's a big trap, and I really don't want to see them fall into it.
Well, there's the trap that I hate to see players fall into. Okay, they're not going to do it. Resorting to an operator on a round where there's an enemy Viper's Pit available. And when you're only running 23k credits, you really want to make sure that that operator is going to find picks. Cider, though, has been able to find Ally. They've seen that KOVA like to have control of Kitchen to try and cut off these rotations. And they've made sure that the Reyna is going to be the one to meet, so that when you get that pick to come on through, even if it is a deathful push up tube, you have the dismiss, you can keep yourself safe and go back for a second.
Really strong round, and a really strong opening, actually. Being able to get that second kill is perfect, despite being vulnerable. But now, KOVA, they've stagnated a little bit, potentially not expecting to be hit back. Jesmond making a push through Tube. Instantly destroying the Lear side, realizing that there's still presence in mid. Does he expect Shed to be there with him, though? On a bit of an off angle. Hopefully the change in altitude might buy a bit of space here. Shed swings out. There's the opening. Jesmond tries again. Cider on for the ace. Vicious left alone in a 1 versus 5. Nilla will happily put him down. And for Alliance, that is a very clean way to make it your second round.
Yeah, KOVA being a little bit predictable with wanting to control that mid space, and Cider being able to get 2 right off the bat does slow KOVA down. And this is the first real time that we have seen KOVA slowed down entirely. Not pushing towards a site, not trying to drain out utility, but slowed entirely down and trying to bait Alliance into taking fights. But unfortunately for them, that swing is just a little bit mistimed. You do allow Cider to get the 2 rather than looking for that trade. And now it's KOVA who's on a little bit more of an uncomfortable by Jesmond actually picking up that judge. So 100% wants to get onto this A site and drop the Viper's Pit and hold sway with the close quarters gun. Something that Alliance can deny.
Miller desperately hoping to invite a player into him, and it's the spike he gets instantly. Jesmond, his death now has to harken on the rest of KOVA, but they answer the call. KOVA calls for aid, and for Sutma, Cider falls. There's a resurrection being deployed. No one's there to cancel it. The snakebite does a lot of damage though, but not as much as Bullet soars and swings out, instantly traded. Shed able to get the next say in the matter. It's all onto the stage. 1 versus 3. Shed plucked out of midair, but it's just not enough. Moxie, KOVA, they find themselves 6-2 into the lead, and even after losing the man advantage, being able to trade one another that effectively is perfect.
Yeah, the fact that they had that res did mean that they were able to go that aggressively forward to get information on where Alliance were hiding. It's a gamble sending your Viper, who has the win condition of the round as well as the spike, over first, which could have punished them if Alliance had been able to just spam down utilities or have something like an operator from rafters to be able to control that angle and make sure that no one picks it up. But Alliance not running the weapons that they want to be able to control that space are now going to be once again back onto a full by rifle round. But this time Cider has actually been taken out of the way. That Reigner's Antics not going to be allowed and stood for, as KOVA now gain hallowed control of Kitchen.
I think it's time for the Fnatic pits. Yes, it is. And now it's going to be the retake. Malfoy going into this position is going to be so damn difficult. Elsewhere, Vicious, he just tears apart Alliance in the back line. Malfoy, he meets an opponent. Unfortunately, that opponent will be his last as he's laid to rest. It's all on one very shy Viper in a 1 versus 5. Guys, where is everyone? Well, he's going to go meet them. Jesmond sends him to the grave, sends him to the afterlife, where Alliance will meet him with open arms. And at 7-2, the afterlife may be their only destination if they cannot find a way to counteract this KOVA aggression.
I love and hate that Viper's Pit. It covers so much space, and you really do have to have something like a Hunter's Fury or even a Lockdown to be able to regain that ground if it does go through. And that is why Alliance were putting Cider into Tube, trying to make sure that KOVA did not get control of the space. However, this time KOVA are expecting it, just as they're surely expecting this buy coming out from Alliance, as the defense has to try and go aggressive to look for picks and maybe upgrade it into rifles. Guardian will be able to find one, and Sutma going to be down, but you've already lost both your Viper and your Reina, and now KOVA can just swarm the ace out and punish, and this time, surely, they're expecting the back flank.
Surely, right? Surely. Sorzen gets ready to commit to this flank, accompanied by this chamber, but is it enough? Ale, you see from the shots, they know exactly what Alliance are trying. They made this, they made this plan, and well, for Ale, there's the first, swings out, tries to get the second, soars, and it's silver linings, it's consolation prizes here. Moxie, there is nothing Alliance are doing which is breaking KOVA. This momentum looks unbeatable right now.
Yeah, and KOVA are a really good team at adapting, at seeing what they are up against in one round and then being able to outperform it in the next. And you can actually see it on how they're positioned onto that A site once the spike goes down. Because normally, if you have, say, a Sova or a Viper, and you have A site control, you keep them on belt so that they can cycle through both the shock darts and the snake bites to stop a defuse from coming on through. But they remember the flank that Cider took when they had the A site, and they know that they can't control belt, they have to keep themselves onto side. Kadazy now is going to be dropping that Viper's Pit, but this is the danger. You waited too long, and Vicious already had the Hunter 3 to punch right the way through it. Thankfully, hasn't been able to pick out the Viper, but the Sage is gone, and there goes that slow wall as well.
Down to the 4-on-3. Instant dart across there. Nilla has to be very, very careful. This tour de force, he's been able to reposition it. Good for the first shed falls. Alec instantly there to trade. This Rainer has done such a good job at evening player counts. There goes Malfoy. Alliance once again running out of players. KOVA, once they have their duelists popping off, once Alec is feeling it, no one can stop him. No one can stop him. God save falls. KOVA go 9-2 up. Forget about the cursed scoreline, Boxy. This could be a stomp.
Yeah, it's definitely looking that way when you look at what is going to be available for KOVA in this round as well. If they are forced onto the eco, and it's going to be a big old if, given the way that they are managing to put these rounds together, they are going to have the Bladestorm to try and make sure that they still have a threat, that they can still have distance presence. As opposed to Alliance, they're not running that jet, they're relying on that chamber to make opening contact rather. But you can see how KOVA are approaching the fact that there's a chamber. No one is going one-on-one, no one is putting themselves into a position where Nile is always going to be having that little bit of advantage, seeing that pressure, getting the information. When KOVA push, they make sure it is a full team push.
Cider, there's the wake up. 2 players full, Malfoy on the response. Suddenly, KOVA find themselves in a little bit of a dicey predicament. However, so long as there are players alive, it's still winnable.
Last player standing.
It's all on Vicious. His location known. He's gonna have to avoid the bullets, peppering the wall he's facing. The snake bites, the snow orbs. It's insurmountable at this point. Moxie, Vicious, he may have to embrace the 9-3 half with open arms.
Oh, looks away just at the wrong moment. Would have been able to see Malfoy crossing the gate and potentially get that pick, but it is indeed going to be that 9-3 half. And there is a curse in Valorant about that scoreline. However, when you're going to look at the way that both of these teams have been behaving, if Alliance aren't able to win Pistol, it's going to be extremely hard to be able to win that tradition. Because for KOVA, not only do they have the Jet, who can just keep themselves on rafters, but they've also got Ale, who's been absolutely monstrous at being able to shut down all of these players from Alliance.
We've had 7 maps now with 6 9-3 halves over the last 2 days. Like, we really need to stop cursing it, because Alliance, a comeback here would be amazing. Everyone's set up, ready to pounce onto this B site. But look, KOVA, they've read it. Already a 3-player setup now. This is going to turn into a bloodbath. KOVA, they'll welcome Alliance with open arms. Welcome to the slaughter. Welcome to the house of fun. Cider, good for the first. Is there a trade? Now all of a sudden the Jet needs to get away with the Sheriff. There's no armor. Every bullet is going to be felt. They back off. They make some distance. Shed, though, still back a yellow. Hoping someone will peek him. Anyone. A chance to try and frag out here.
Oh, drone didn't clear him. Thankfully, everyone from Alliance sees that maybe B-site isn't the best space to push, and will now be pushing over onto the A. But KOVA, seeing that no one has actually pushed out from Garage, we're immediately going to be starting to rotate. Keep your eye on Cider, though. They're still going to be popping out from mid and might be able to catch Supma.
Cider exists so much this round already. Shock darts, perfect. Malfoy falls. There's a follow-up. The Cider reveals himself. Jessamine instantly there to trade. Cider falls to Vicious, but Kodsei is continuing this rampage. It's onto Shed. 1 versus 2. He's already made noise as if he was flanking when he destroyed the chamber utility. So instead, he makes the Exodus through mid, looking to engage with Nilla. This could be absolutely perfect from Shed. He's going to be able to isolate both of these players in the 1v1. Remember, the Viper doesn't have the snake bites. It's go big with aim or go home for Alliance here in this 2 versus 1. Shed covering as much ground as he can. encroaching onto this position, inching forward one step at a time. Sees the initial area equals clear. Neil sends them to the afterlife as Alliance make it 4.
Yeah, Alliance do the absolute perfect positioning as well. They see that they could potentially be separated into those 1 versus 1s and just make sure that they're going to be together. If you spot the chamber, you're also going to be putting yourselves right into that fight with the Viper as well. And it looks a little bit dicey, but they're able to hold on. Alliance now winning that round can afford both the SMGs and the martial shots too. So for KOVA, they can't really try and push the vertical that should be there for that defense, but the toxin screen is going to be going very far forward. Should be able to cut off a lot of pelt, actually. And Cider sees that the Viper is allowing this team to try and move up into places like Nest, and is making sure that no one is going to be jumping over from pipes.
Something to highlight is that Alec clearly isn't a Human Tripwires fan. Currently on 18 kills, looking to even extend that. As the damage goes back and forth, Jessamine, nice trade onto the chamber. And KOVA actually doing a very effective job in trading, considering that their buy here is terrible. Shed and Vicious both chime in. Down to a 2-on-2. How has it got this close, Moxie? And avoiding the drone. There's the Soma. There, he falls. Now's the 1v1. Ale in a 1 versus 1. How's it come to this now? The Viper on against Ale, the marauding Rainer, the person who has been able to achieve time and time again for KOVA. They make it 10! They shut down they shut down Alliance on a full spot.
It's all in the toxin screen, Kramer. It's all in the toxin screen. It allows them to close up that distance, so even though Alliance are running those SMGs, they can't try and take the distance fights that they want where they will be at an advantage. In fact, they're running in practically blind. The fact that Malphite gets caught out when the drone is up goes to show how much Alliance know they need the information of where KOVA are so they can start to spray through with those SMGs. And KOVA play it absolutely perfectly. They time it so that when that drone comes out, everyone just pushes aggressively. And there's nothing you can do to stop them. And now for Alliance, it should have been a bonus for them, but they're on an eco!
That's the spike! Oh shit, he's just going on a rampage! Alliance, they're being decimated! 11-4! Moxie!
You have to feel for this team. You have to feel for this team. That should have been their bonus. And KOVA, knowing that they can't afford to buy into guns, have to go for that eco, have to wait for this round to be able to full buy up once more, and even then it's not going to be a full buy. Malfoy is still stuck on a Spectre. KOVA get aggressive and just decimate that attacking side before they can find any ground and start to tear away at these rifles. KOVA looking like an absolute monster of momentum right now.
Are Alliance at a stage where they can even win this? Is the momentum too far gone? Look how aggressive KOVA are being now. They just push through mid. They don't even care about losing a sight here. Ale, he just gets kills anyway. The Viper falls. Oh no! KOVA, we're already a man up, already on the precipice of hitting that point while resetting Alliance. There's that swing from Ale, not quite able to get another one though. Finished off by Cider, but Shed's already in position. Spotted outside, he gets a second though, but it will only stay as his second. Traded by Jessamine. Hunter's Fury is coming out. No tag and no kill just yet, but Sawson is going to try and maraud his way around it. Sutma falls. There is a follow-up though. Jessamine taking him down, and with that KOVA, they make it 12-2. I feared a 2-0 Moxie. I didn't expect it though.
Yeah, KOVA, you can see, they just want that spot in playoffs. They want this match over and done with as fast as possible, and this round may well give it to them, because look at the buy that Alliance are coming in with, Kramer. This is not what you want to be running on match point, not what you want to have. It is going to be so much pressure onto Cider with that Vandal, with the Empress, can be the saving grace, can open up the space for the team, but once again, KOVA going to make sure that that Reina does not have any space to move. Not only is the Viper's Pit blocking off all of A, but you've got the Jet and the Sage ready and raring to meet Alliance as they come out from Garage!
Spike down mid.
Oh no. Moxie, it's over. Malfoy, not a single player. KOVA haven't even taken a point of damage. Malfoy, at least he damages when he kills one, sure, but you don't notice the red flags when you're wearing those red tinted goggles, and for KOVA, they definitely saw red that round, and they just descended onto Icebox. What on earth was that?
I mean, you have to ask yourself, why do KOVA not like playing Icebox when they are that good at the map? Because not only did we see excellent attacking rounds from them, but we also saw really good defense rounds from them, despite not having that chamber, which some would argue is a must pick for this map. The fact that you have to have both your Jet and the Sage to make up for what should just be one chamber holding and anchoring onto that B side, they are still able to control mid, still able to anchor A side, and still able to stop Alliance from walking out from Garage and getting onto the B side, which means that one of those massive attacking strats that the team relies on, getting onto site fast, using that Sage wall to get the spike down, and then pulling back far away, baiting that defense to come closer, is entirely disabled for this team to take advantage of.
You're right, and I mean, well, strategy is great and all that. I don't think Alliance anticipated LA to just sort of move in and kill. It wasn't even a move in and kill. It was sort of, so clearly maybe the coach of KOVA whispered something into LA's ear. His pupils dilated, the hairs on the back of his neck stood on end, and he just went okay, and just went and killed. Like, it's as simple as that. And then once the rest of KOVA saw LA killing everyone, they went, damn, we should try that.
I know.
And unfortunately,
they've been watching their Fnatic. Not only did they copy that Fnatic Viper's pit, but they were like, okay, Dirk go burr? Nah, Ale go burr.
Yeah, and yeah, the Raiders both MVPs, but unfortunately, it's LA to boast a 3 KD. Oh no. That was...
Ali was incredible. The fact that sometimes, you know, we talk about one of those really hard conditions to meet as a Reina, the fact that to get access to either the overheal or the dismiss, you have to actually connect your shots as opposed to something like a Chamber or a Jet who can't just dash. The fact that you're coming in with 331 AS and 20 kills, it seemed like this guy was unkillable.
Yeah, and that's 331 ACS over the course of, what, 17 rounds? Like, that was a disturbingly quick game. And now for Alliance, they weren't even given a chance to breathe. Even with their timeout, it felt like it didn't matter. We now move to our next map, and I don't know if the break, the kind of 7-minute break we get, is long enough for Alliance.
I think the break might be longer than the match that we just had, Karma. It definitely feels like an absolute whirlwind of an Icebox. And we said we were a little bit on the fence when we saw Icebox coming through into that map pool so early on that it could give Alliance a win condition if they're able to take it. But when you lose that hard on a map that you've picked, expecting to be able to entirely map counter pick your opponent, it's gonna be really hard now that the next map, it's KOVA's. Yeah, it really is. And we're gonna have to see just how they're able to fare on that next map after this short break. We'll be back in about 7 minutes or so with our second map to see if Alliance have any hope for recovery.
Okay, let me answer this. Okay, it is Hadi. Hadi is so toxic in ranked.
No.
I'll give you one strategy. This is what he does. Say someone says something in ranked, you'll be like, "What did you say?" Muted, and he'll say it in game. So the guy said, and then he doesn't mute them. So he does it to get a reaction out of the player. Full toxic.
I'm not toxic.
Sunshine. I mean, he's not toxic directly, but like the way he speaks when he dies and like when it goes wrong, it's hilarious.
He's not toxic towards us or anything. He's just like, oh, blah blah blah, and he'll just, you know.
It's like watching Tyler 1 play League, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's really entertaining.
King's monitor fell off, didn't it?
Yeah, monitor has fallen, and like after that he's playing, and the screen is falling, and
his brothers are holding it for him and stuff.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Wasn't there once where Kim had to take the lasagna hot dog?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Kim, but I think it was lasagna pizza hot dog, and we had to pause for like 5 minutes and be like.
Yeah, it took him so long to come back.
Yeah, true. And then we could just hear him, at the end, like he was like yelling while in the kitchen. I'm on
ready.
Reckon Remoy?
Yeah, probably. I say the same, Remoy.
Yeah, because he's got all his setups to do, hasn't he? So he'll probably forget to buy. Oh, he's just the Sentinel player, so he has to like run to his side, do his while listening to the IGL, do all his setup. I think he's forgot to buy before.
It's just every day playing with these guys. It's creating memories, having friends, and just being together with them is awesome to do. Because playing video games is great, but when you can play video games with someone you enjoy and spending time with, it's 10 times more enjoyable, and I really love that. So yeah, that's my answer.
Don't cry.
Just